Six Entities of the Universe by Dr. Mahavir Raj Getra. Statements of Einstein and Hawkins. James envisioned the entire universe to be consisted of six entities. We have christened them as materials. 1. The medium of movement. 2. Medium of rest. 3. Space. 4. Matter. 5. Consignificant effulgence. 6. Time. All six entities, materials, coexist simultaneously to manifest the universe. Interesting, science even today cannot add or subtract anything from this all-exhausted list cited above. Jain literature calls the universe as Lok. Excluding this finite Lok is said to be infinite Alok. Jain philosophy has laid a logical foundation to the ever-enigmatic question of creation of universe, its extents, the composition, and its time factor. Founding postulates of Jains are: there is a finite and tangible Lok situated in the midst of an infinite void called Alok. Alok is infinite, yet the relative positioning of Lot with respect to Alok is well defined, as the directions travel in the Alok as well. Lok has a well-defined and stable geometric shape. Lok has fixed base constituents which are finite and maintain a constant sum. Activities within the Lok are so spontaneous that it is not created by anybody. Lok possesses default intelligence, but not the designed one. Periods in Lok have starts and ends, but cycles of periods are eternal, having neither beginning nor end. Matter present in the universe is dynamic by way of transportation and transformation, which is the very basics of life. Mahavir Yoga explains that the Jains could find above universal laws, as they do not believe in the authority of God as a creator or perpetrator. According to him, modern scientists also does not support the idea of a universe being created and conducted by any supreme power. Statements of Einstein and Hawkins by Dr. Mahavir Raj Gupta. God is left with nothing to do, as the disciplined nature is governed by its own laws and principles. How close Einstein is to the Jain viewpoint. Bestseller, physicist, and well-known contemporary scientist Hawkins too believes that the cosmos is no beginning, no end phenomenon. A lot of scientific investigations are going on today in the field of astrophysics. Largest of the large and smallest of the smallest are keenly scrutinized by the modern scientists, who are equipped with the latest electronic telescopes and fastest computers to analyze the enormous data. While at one end they are eager to know massive black holes, on the other hand they are enthusiastic to study the minute particles like quarks and gluons. It would therefore be relevant to undertake a comparative study of Jain philosophy. To start with, we shall first chronologically arrange the history of cosmic studies. Histories of universal exploration by scientists. 1. Scientific study is presented to have started with Copernicus in 1514, when he, for the first time, decided the Sun as the center of our planet's planetary system, contrary to the then prevailing idea of Earth being as the center, as proposed by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. The establishment of the first fact, orbits of our solar system are sun-central and not geocentric. Unlike our modern times, when a new concept is introduced every year, it took almost 100 years for Galileo to confirm this way back in the year 1609. Among the year 1687, an idea was molded by Sri Newton after having an infinite static universe, but his own theory of gravitation considered it. Owing to the gravitational force, the stars in the static universe will fall into one another, and the universe world have collapsed. As the solar system was thoroughly understood and mathematically orbits were established, some scientists turned their attention to the outer universes. Arguments kept on waging about whether the universe had a beginning or is eternal. We shall see later in this chapter how Jainism solves this dilemma. After another 100 years, in the middle of the 19th century, the idea of eternal universe was discarded by scientific fraternity. It was becoming one of a very single topic. Had the stars around us were shining since infinite time, rays from all the stars would have reached us by now, and the Earth would have received so much energy that would have been blown up by now. But the same argument, all the other cosmic bodies too, would be infinitely heated up. This establishes of this second fact, the universe had a beginning. Next, milestones in the journey came relatively faster in the year 1929. They only confirmed the fact that the universe had a beginning. Edwin Hubble observed that the cosmos is expanding as the galaxies are rotating away from each other. This establishes of the third fact, the universe is expanding. The immediate conclusion was that the galaxies were near to each other sometime in the past, in fact so near to each other that the universe occupied near zero space and possessed near infinite density. This establishes of the fourth fact, the universe started with a Big Bang. However, universal important questions still remain unanswered, having consequence on the beginning question. Nagging the scientist was about the end. How long will the universe expand? Will it collapse after the momentum of Big Bang is reduced and the forces of gravitationals take over? By the turn of the 20th century, the study of the universe was fully transformed from philosophers and mere physicists to the scientists and astronomers. In the 21st century, this study is now enjoying complicated electronic, advanced mathematics, and latest space technology. The concentration is on cosmic microwave background, the ultimate high-frequency radiations coming from a hot body. Since the universe is presented to be extremely hot all the time of the Big Bang, the frequencies emitted then can reveal the correct picture if detected. To sum it up, the present cosmology picture pinned by scientists is as follows. Age of the universe is around 14 billion years, and it is by and large homogeneous ours. It is full of the lightest elements like hydrogen, helium, and lithium. It has abundance of cold, dark matter, huge clouds of particles that are detectable by their gravitational effect only. The finding is astonishingly close to Jain philosophy. When a fraction of a second, the universe flared at a tremendous tremendously accelerated rate, simultaneously releasing bursts of radiation. Soon after the inflation, the regions of high density were acted upon by the cold, dark matter to form the galaxies. What scientists have failed to explain: boundary, shape, and size of the universe, what was before Big Bang, and what initiated it. At the time, space coordinates can be drawn by assigning a subtle zero time factor can be described in terms of elapsed time with respect to some reference. But when we are talking about universe, we move to the known, the absolute zero coordinates of space, and an absolute zero amount of start of time. Both are eluding science. If it is expanded, how far will it expand, or will it collapse after the momentum of far-off galaxy dimensions? If all the matter was together at one point of time, Big Bang, and no matter can travel faster than the speed of light as predicted by quantum mechanics and the general theory of relativity, why stars and galaxies are out of our sight. Answers from Jainism. 1. Dynamos and statons. The description of this dual comprehensively answers the dilemma of the universal's boundary according to Jainism. The spatial extent of this part is finite, has a definite shape, and outlines the boundary of the universe. We shall discuss more about the shape of Lok later in this book. Continuing the discussion about the six, interestingly, these are divided into three pairs. Materials. The first one is dynamos and statons. Both are metaphysical in nature, omnipresent and static. They contribute only as a passive, seamless, and continuous media. They are entirely absent in the alok. The other two pairs, Akash, Kai, and Jiva, Pugo, exist only up to the limits earmarked by dynam statons. We can understand it with an analogy of a swimmer in water. Water is just a medium. The analogy is crude with the difference that dynams and statons do not themselves get disturbed due to any material activity. Scientific fraternity has always wondered as to what exists between the nucleus and the orbiting electrons, or between one atom molecule and the other. At one time, the concept of ether was in vogue, but present-day scientists deny its existence. Dynams. Dynams are omnipresent throughout the universe. They are supposedly crucial particles interleaved in such a manner that they form a continuous monolithic medium and the guide, dynamism. That is why we have named him dynams. All of the other materials is attributed to them. They, in other words, are superhighways of energy transportation. Even electromagnetic and light waves traverse in the presence of dynams. Since they act as a medium, they do not participate or interact, nor they themselves get disturbed. Therefore, the energy traveling through the medium of dynams remains undiminished until it interacts with other forms of matter. Mahapragya observed that if we listen to a science teacher explaining the rules of motion, we felt as if a Jain scholar was given discourse on dynams, stratons. However, it must be noted that the science during the Newton age believed in presence of ether as a medium of motion. But later on, Einstein, on the basis of Michelson-Morley experiment, ruled out its existence. He argued that since the velocity of light remains a constant to all observers, whether dynamic or static, the very presence of ether is dispensable. All arguments of ether being a metaphysical entity were discarded, and Einstein's view prevailed. But believers of Jainism will find it interesting to note that the things have come to the full circle as scientists now read a medium to explain the way gravitational forces act. Statins. As antimatter to dynams, these particles coexist with them on our medium to gravitation. Their presence actually completes the picture of the universe. Scientifically, we all know the matter world collapses under gravity if the gravitational forces are not counterbalanced by forces of velocity. Einstein electrons are orbiting to avoid collapsing into the nucleus. Earth is orbiting so that its centrifugal force is equal to the gravitational force of the Sun. The solar system, in turn, is rotating, and so is our galaxy, the Milky Way. Even all the other galaxies which we know of are spinning, presumably to prevent fall under gravity. Jainism states that all forms of matter take shape only when the forces of energy are at equilibrium with the forces of gravity. Jainism, therefore, does not believe in design intelligence, but proclaims default intelligence. In the former case, the universe becomes somebody's discretion, whereas in the latter case, it spontaneously exists under certain fundamental rules. It is amazing that no other religion on this earth has promulgated the presence of all encompassing materials as is done by Jainism. And as we have understood so far, how near the Jain philosophy is to the modern science, it is even can extend helping solutions to some of the enigmas faced by the scientists regarding the boundaries of the universe and extent of time. Conclusion of science so far. Scientific evidence point an explosive start by Big Bang and expedites a catastrophe end of the universe by the Big Crunch. Though many questions remain unanswered in between the two, prominent among those are what before beginning and what after the end. These questions have compelled scientists to think like philosophers. According to Einstein, the moment of beginning is singular and unique. Thus, laws of physics come into force only after the Big Bang. Dr. Hawkins explains that anything which existed before is destroyed by the Big Bang, and so there is no need to know whatever existed before it. Secondly, anything before Big Bang has no consequences in the present universe. Conclusions of Jainism. Among all extensively followed religions, the Hindus, Jews, Christians, Muslims, the universe is presumed to be created by God. For the first time in the known history, famous philosopher Aristotle put forward the notion of no beginning, no end. Mahapraya, too, has written in his earlier literary works that Jainism does not support beginning and end theory. He writes, the central to an entire Jain theme is, everything in the universe is dynamic, finite, cyclical. Accordingly, the universe neither gets completely destroyed nor is created out of nothing. The following time, energy, matter graph clearly depicts the Jain ideology. As it is manifested above, the matter of the universe appears to vanish into pure energy at the end of each era, descent. According to the Jain philosophy, it is the sixth frame of descending cycle. It remotely resembles what we know as a moment of destruction or Big Crunch. From the second frame of the ascending cycle, the creation of matter starts again. This resembles the moment of creation or Big Bang. This cycle of ascend and descend is perennial. Jains have designed a period of 5 bhaftas and 5 aryats to each of these cycles. As each is clearly depicted, the matter and energy transmutes into each other, but in totality, no destruction or creation takes place. Here, the Jain philosophy explains what science could not, the state of the universe before the beginning and after the end. Sat, Chit, Anand. Meditating on the inner log. Sat, Chit, Anand. Truth is the consciousness of bliss. When your mind is absorbed in truth, your consciousness will be absorbed in bliss. This is considered the inner log. This is the essence of the soul that we must discover inside of us. This is our true nature. Unfortunately, mankind does not understand this. We place all our energy on the external. We may go to church or temple one day a week and think, that's enough. This man is living in bondage, and yet he thinks he is free. What a paradox. For eons, man's condition is to only look in the external world for happiness. This is our downfall and where we are today. According to the Jains, truth equals existence, which equals life. Consciousness equals light. Anand equals love. When the man only concentrates on the external world, he is digging his own grave. He is held in bondage and hostage, yet he doesn't know it. Prana is our life force energy. It is part of our life. Without prana, you wouldn't be around too much longer. Tejas is the fire that corresponds to light and consciousness. Without internal fire, our body would not be able to function. Ohas corresponds to the Shiva Shakti energy. You may call it masculine and female energy. These three components are the air element, the fire element, and the water element. The goal is to balance all three. When these three are in balance, you will be in harmony with your mind, body, and soul. When they are out of balance, the disease will occur. All you have to do is look in this world and see the chaos, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. The world is not in balance. I was introduced to the phrase Sat Chit Anand when I was 18 years old in India. Wherever we would meet someone, we would say Jai Sat Chit Anand. This phrase got incorporated into my being, became a part of my life. My driving force in this world is to be in that place, residing in my soul. To be in that place, one must be conscious and aware of every moment. One must learn how to fine-tune the guitar of life. Maybe I should say the sitar of life. We can never rest on our laurels. There's always new wisdom and knowledge to obtain. We can never clap our hands and say, I know all that there is. Fourteenth Day Commentary. Once again, I see the butterfly effect in my life and synchronicity. Over 50 years ago, I was in India. I received knowledge from a guru. It was the most incredible initiation I ever had. It was the carrot on the stick that carried me where I am today. I was only 18 years old, and I thought receiving knowledge would be twofold. One was to discover the jewel within, and two, to discover the soul. Two, I thought a person could understand the knowledge of the entire world. I've been meditating for many moons. I feel I've made great headway in discovering my true nature. It's an incredible journey that you can never rest on your laurels. In the past 5 years, I've written around 60 books. Yeah, I know that's a lot. People ask, don't you get bored writing books? Each book comes to me while I'm meditating or in a dream state. I have learned so much about this world by writing books. Just think, if I only listened to these lectures, I would not have a clue or about understanding what they were talking about. I have been able to answer one single question when they have the question and answers sessions. Yet, when I do my research the following day, I completely understand and resonate with these teachings. I am in sync with these teachings and try the best of my ability to put them into practice. For this audience, I'm going to say, I'm fine-tuning the sitar of life. Usually, music of guitar, but for this audience, it's a sitar. I'm beginning to see that one can comprehend wisdom from both the internal world and the external world. Meditation brings one to a state of being in harmony with the quantum field, which always contains both external and internal wisdom. Some will call it Akashic Records. There are many different names for this, yet true wisdom exists in the quantum field. Many of my friends are amazed that I've written these books. If you knew me 50 years ago, you would be too. Many people asked me to write a story about my life. I did, then nobody was interested in reading it. That's okay, because I did it for myself. We truly can't do anything for others. We can only try to help others. We can't change them. They can only change themselves. I hope you enjoy this book. I'm extremely grateful for all the wisdoms that I've received, knowingly or unknowingly, from this 18-day celebration. We are all on the same boat on planet Earth. Let's make this place a better place to live.
Once upon a time, there were two twin brothers named Little Ricky and Little Johnny. Little Johnny was a genius in picking up and learning new things, while Little Ricky was what you would call on the slow side. It took him hundreds of tries to learn new things. For example, one Christmas morning, their wonderful parents presented them both with brand new bicycles. Both of them were so excited. Well, they took them outdoors. Little Johnny hopped on his and immediately started riding down the block. Well, Little Ricky didn't have the same luck. In fact, it was kind of funny to see how clumsy he was. He didn't give up. He knew deep down inside he could learn how to ride this. It took him about a month. The first time he realized that he was actually riding the bicycle, he was filled with joy. He was so grateful. I did it. I didn't give up. This incident carried him all throughout his life. Every time he had to learn something new, he remembered the experience of learning how to ride a bike. In fact, years later, his wife said that he learned things so quickly. Little Ricky just smiled. He knew that life taught him such a precious lesson at such a young age. Never give up. Persevere. You can learn anything. It may just take you time.